So yeah, so this happened. So I got a nice little present for Brad now. I'll give that to him later.
Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Hook, Line, and Paddle, Kayak Angler's new web series. I'll be your host. My name is Ben Duchesney. I'm the web editor of Kayak Angler magazine. This first episode, I flew down to Kentucky Lake to fish the Hobie Bass Open. Last year at this event, it was all about ledge fishing. But ledge fishing in a kayak is really hard on your body, especially when it's in Kentucky heat. This year, I knew that I wanted to fish shallow. I wanted to fish those little coves that you can find bass in the shade and catch fish all day long. First day, I fished with Bassin magazine owner and editor Brad Yule. Now, Brad's a bass guy. He fishes out of bass boats. He's got a nice new 250 horse motor.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Brad's kind of a big deal.
He's not used to a kayak. Last year, he fished this event as well in a kayak, and it didn't end well for him.
This is only the second time I've ever fished out of a kayak. The first time was last year at this tournament, which I fell in the water. I was really trying to find the stability of myself in that kayak. It was hard. I didn't tip the boat. I simply fell in the water.
So we started fishing shallow, and we're really not finding fish. But Brad just has this spook on, and he's just throwing it all day. I think he really just wants to catch a fish on top water from a kayak.
So I put on a Zara spook, and within 2 casts I had my first keeper, and I thought I'll just work these banks and see how this turns out with the Zara spook.
Now, this fish probably wasn't the biggest fish in the lake, but you know what, at that point, since we hadn't caught anything all morning, we were pretty pumped.
Watch him not be 12, all this freaking work. Oh, just barely.
So we're working this cove, just working along the bank, and we're really trying to cover every inch of the shoreline so that we can make sure that if there's a fish there, we're gonna find it. And Brad's still throwing that spook. And I haven't caught a fish yet. I haven't even felt the bump. But then Brad hooks up with this big fish. I mean, I'm working this cove for like 15 minutes. Just cast after cast after cast after cast. The same spots, you know, where I know there's gonna be fish. There's gotta be fish. There's this big log that I'm pinned up against, and I'm just casting against this log. There's perfect brush, casting into the brush, nothing. Brad comes along behind me, throws one cast with a spook, and boom, this big bass comes up and nails his lure.
Oh. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Holy smokes. Holy cow. That's it, 20 inches right there. That's what I need.
Before that big fish, Brad didn't think he had any chance at even making top 10 in this kayak tournament.
Being in this tournament as fishing against these guys that I consider, you know, pros, because they're out there every day fishing in these kayaks.
After that big fish, it was all about finding one more to make his limit. All he needed was a fish bigger than 12 inches. So we're working our way back to the launch, and the wind really picked up. And you know, it's raining, then it stopped raining. It's nice out, it's really hot. Like there's this cycle that it keeps going through. It's really, really hot, really, really windy, and then really, really rainy.
You know what though? I love fishing in the rain. Oh, I absolutely love it. I don't know why.
On the way back to the launch, we're hitting these boat docks and just picking off fish after fish after fish, but they're all really small. I mean, he gets a 12, but it's really nothing to brag about, right?
What? Why does it just keep shooting 3D, dang it?
Hitting one more cove before weigh-in, he finally hooks up with a fish that's a little bit bigger, and When I say a little bit bigger, I mean a little bit bigger.
There's 13. Gives me an inch. Right at 13. Good deal. There he is. Thank you. Send me your mama.
For day 2 of the tournament, I wanted to mix it up. I knew Robert Field was fishing the tournament, getting ready for his Kayak Bass series the next weekend, so I gave him a call and said, hey, where are you putting in? I'm not really a tournament guy, so my goal was to just follow Robert Field, figure out what he was doing.
Yeah, so coming out to Kentucky Lake, it's much different than the lakes that I fish in Texas. A lot deeper, different kind of structure, really out of my comfort zone.
Robert's strategy for day 1 was to hit these rock jetties and just pound them all day long. Fish weren't stacked up in the rocks, but they were about 5 to 10 feet out from them, trying to hide from the cold front that had been rolling in.
Day 1, I actually did pretty well as far as finding the fish. I hooked some really nice ones. Unfortunately, it was one of those days, like tournament day often turns out, where I could not get a fish in the boat.
On day 2, things were totally different. The weather had kind of pushed off, and the wind died down, and we just couldn't find fish. The really overcast skies had really spread them out, and it was really hard to get a pattern on them. We picked up one fish here, one fish there, but really weren't finding anything good.
So it was really slow in the morning, whereas in the first day I was really hooking into fish in the morning. Day 2, I could not get a bite. I think it was about 9:30, I hadn't had a bite. And so I'm thinking, you know, I'm really feeling discouraged at this point. I know at day 2 I've really got to step it up.
We work our way all the way around the lake and finally get to this one cove that looks really fishy. There's this big log. You know, there's actually 2 logs that are crisscrossed on top of each other, and we know there's got to be fish there. There has to be, right?
About the 7th pass probably, I pitched it up under there, perfect cast. I'm just dragging it along kind of, you know, real slow presentation. All of a sudden I feel that thump thump, first bite of the day, set the hook, and managed to get a good fish in the boat. Decent one on board. So I've got a fish in the board, confidence is picking back up a little bit, feeling a little bit better, but I know I've got to get 3 bigger fish than that. I mean, I got to cull that fish, but at least, you know, I'm feeling better. It's probably about 20 minutes later, I cast out, I'm kind of blind casting, but I know there's some good laydowns in the area underwater.
You know, just slow reeling these biffle bugs. Super slow. Like, think super slow and then go half that slow. Then you're still probably twice as fast as you need to be.
I blind cast out and I feel weight on the rod. Not a bite, I mean, no movement, but it feels different than all these laws I've been rolling up on. Sure enough, I set the hook and I've got a monster on the line.
All of a sudden, Robert hooks this beast of a fish. I mean, he's just boom, boom, boom with hook sets.
Fish takes off, great fight. I get it all the way up to the boat. I mean, this is a heavy fish. Even when it kind of slowed down on the fight and I'm just kind of dragging it through the water, it felt huge. I mean, I'm thinking this might be my personal best bass.
And it comes off.
And somehow she took one last dive under the bow of my kayak, hook flies out, and that was pretty much all she wrote as far as my confidence goes.
I don't know how it came off. I really don't. You know, I give the guy some credit. He took it pretty well.
You did. I knew at that point I needed that fish. If I got that fish, maybe I keep fishing and get 2 more like that, but that pretty much ruled me out.
So we kind of just went back to the rock jetties because we knew that there would be fish there, and we just started working them again like we had done in the morning. We actually picked up a couple nice fish, but unfortunately for Robert, I caught all the fish. So that really didn't help his score, but you know what? I had fun catching fish.
It's one of those days where, you know, nothing goes right. It seems like tournament days always go like that, but I learned a lot. Hobie puts on an incredible event. I had a blast. They're really doing it right in the sport where not every tournament trail is doing it right. So thrilled to be a part of it. I'll definitely be back next year. As a tournament director myself, I know how much work goes into this. I know how much time it takes, and huge respect for AJ and Morgan and all the guys at Hobie that put this on. It was an awesome event, and next year I'll be going to Hobie Worlds. I'm confident.
As fun as that tournament was, the real fun for me began on day 3 after the tournament. Right before flying out, I got the chance to steal a Hobie Pro Angler 14, and I actually got on some fish. Since Brad has such good luck with that spook, I threw on a spook as well and just started working the bank. I'd cast right up into those bushes, work it about 5 feet, and then stop. Don't even touch it. I didn't touch the line, didn't touch the handle, nothing. I mean, and I paused it for like a full minute. That's when the bass were hitting. Kentucky Lake has some great ledge fishing, and if you want to catch big fish, like really big fish, smallmouth, largemouth bass, both about 4, 5, 6 pounds, then yeah, you should probably be out on the ledges. But if you want to just have a lot of fun catching a lot of fish on top water, real shallow, sometimes even sight fishing, then Kentucky Lake is still a great lake. Here's a trip tip for you guys if you're flying to a location to fish. Pack light. I only packed 1 bag for this entire week of fishing Kentucky Lake. That bag doubled as my office for long layovers. It doubled as my clothing bag for all my stuff for the week. But it also, most importantly, tripled for my dry bag on the water. Be sure to stay tuned for more episodes of Hook, Line, and Paddle from Kayak Angler magazine. This season, we're going to be fishing a lot more places for a lot more species and have a lot more fun. The whole point of this show is to give you trip ideas that you can do in a weekend. Things that don't cost very much money. You don't need to fly out. All you need to do is grab a couple of buddies, fill up the gas tank, and go fishing. Be sure to check out Kayak Angler magazine's website, kayakanglermag.com, for more how-to articles, videos, photos, and gear reviews. I'm Ben Duchesney, the web editor of Kayak Angler magazine and the host of Hook, Line, and Paddle, and I'm hoping you paddle forever and fish longer.
See that?
Yep.
Didn't one in the cars this year, but maybe next year we'll get them. But get them, we'll get them. They're not gonna get them with me. I don't know what that means.
So, some of you might know that I don't like throwing big catfish. Not my thing. They give me a spinning rod, I'm fine all day. So this happened, which I knew was going to eventually. So I got a nice little present for Brad now. I'll give that to him later. I think I need a knife. I got a little situation.
Uh-oh. Holy crap.
This is after picking for about 15 minutes, and then mid-pick I broke.